You know, I think I've wanted to do this video for a while, but didn't really see an appropriate time to do it yet. But I believe I'm ready to do this. Lots have happened in the OSC this summer, from huge tours, to new and exciting shows, to brand new episodes of beloved series. But I think one of my favorite things that's going on in the community right now is a little known show that we all know and love, called Battle for Dream Island again. Since its revival almost a year ago, I've been so obsessed with the series because I was always thinking about how that whole season would have gone down if it had continued, and it's just so cool seeing these questions answered and the cast of that season doing some good old battling. I would say besides Animatic Battle, BFDIA is my favorite show that's currently ongoing right now in the OSC, but if I had to choose my favorite part of BFDIA, it would definitely be the characters. Almost everyone in BFDIA is so unique and fun, you can make an argument for why any contestant is your favorite. So I thought I would go ahead and share my favorite aspect of BFDIA with you all, which is why today, I'll be ranking all 22 contestants in Battle for Dream Island again. Of course, this is just a subjective list, and you can disagree with me and yell at me in the comments as to why you think this person should be higher, or how I'm giving this person too much credit. I think you all know that about my last ranking, but you would be surprised to see how many people need to be told that. Lastly, this is contestant based, so no hosts like the speaker boxes, TV, or Flower will be on this list, and this also means that non-competitors like Leafy, Bubble, and Woody will also not be ranked today. But anyway, let's get started with my second ever ranking video. This is every BFDI character ranked. I genuinely only hate one character in this entire show, which is why F tier only has one entry. Everyone else above this character has at least one good thing going for them, but in my opinion, that just cannot be said about Ice Cube. Yeah, I'm sorry to all the Ice Cube fans, but I do not like her at all, and probably will never like her. I just don't get the appeal. I really don't like her recycled lines, even if the series actually has a new VA for her, and I just don't care for her vengefulness. She just feels like a dead weight. She's almost never actually useful to Free Smart. She's only been helpful in 2 times in episodes 6 and 8, and honestly, it just feels forced because J&J knows that most people don't like Ice Cube and they just needed to do something with her. I just think she's very boring, and if I'm gonna be blunt here, bad compared to everyone else. I don't think you guys know how happy I was to watch her be eliminated in episode 12 because I did not want her getting far again for no reason, just like season 1, just because the voters take pity on her. I probably would have put Match at the bottom of this list if not for BFDIA 13 and brand new episode 14, as it just came out a day ago as of writing this, but we'll get to these later. Let's start with the bad for Match, which is sadly almost every appearance of her in this season before BFDIA 13 in my opinion. I don't know what happened with her at the start of the season. She was decently likable in season 1, but good lord, Match is so unbelievably horrible in BFDIA. Her personality shifted from being a stereotypical teenage girl who is Pencil's best friend to this bratty, whiny person who doesn't care for anyone but herself and Pencil. Moments like hitting Nickel and telling him to crank at 5D just really get under my skin, and I'm glad she got out in BFDIA 5 instead of Golfball, because Match 100% deserved it. I also know this is kind of just a personal thing, but no offense to whoever voiced Match at that time, but before BFDIA went on hiatus, Match's voice was just so unbearable and it was just horrid to hear in my opinion.
Wow, Teardrop, over 500 likes? OMG, I wish I was that well liked.
Now, onto the few good things that salvage Match and keep her from joining Ice Cube in F tier. For one, I found her really good in BFDIA 13's TLC scenes with her not listening to anyone even if they were on her side of the line, and it was just nice to not see her so entitled to everyone else. And same goes for BFDIA 14. I loved her Matchstick Island, and it was just super interesting to see her small bitch with Pencil, you know, with Pencil just kind of ignoring her and all. So I do think there are good things to Match later on in the series, but the cons outweigh the pros, as she's just horrible in the first few episodes in my opinion. Overall, Match is bad, but not terrible. Sorry to every 6-year-old watching, but yeah, I don't really care for Rocky that much. And not just in BFDIA, but in every season of the series. I just have no strong feelings about Rocky, so what does he really do? Well, yeah, I'm blanking guys. Rocky is classified as a cute character as he does very random things for no reason and people just love that, I guess. But I don't really mind him in this season. He doesn't do anything substantial, he's just kind of there. Even in BFDIA 13, where a ton of focus was on Rocky and the rest of the WTF gang, he didn't really do anything. I guess it was just interesting to see how he got his barf back, but that's really about it. I'm really stretching to think of things to talk about when it comes to Rocky, but that's really about it though. He's in D tier because he's literally useless and I feel nothing when he appears in BFDIA and felt absolutely nothing when he got out of BFDIA 7. Some of you might be surprised to see her this low, but I'm sorry, Teardrop is just a whole lot of mid to me this season. Like, think about it. In episode 1 she does nothing, and in episode 2 she does nothing again except be forced to switch to Wobunch. In episode 3 she does nothing but die to the bugs before getting eliminated in episode 4. This honestly might be a hot take, but I'm kinda glad Teardrop got out in episode 4, and it was probably for the best even though her votes were rigged. Like, can you imagine the series now if Queenie got eliminated instead? I definitely cannot. Even in BFDIA 13, she just appears, and the only title role she gets is ordering islands with the others. The only thing that's really saving her, to be honest, is BFDIA 14, as I actually find her island pretty cool, and I love the fact they had to get people to shut up because the other Teardrops didn't like all the talking. She does get a bit better in BFB and Teapot, but in BFDIA she's just a whole lot of nothing, which is why she's the only entry in C tier. The next 3 spots on this list are all TLCers, and that's just a pure coincidence to be honest. However, the first of the 3 is Dora. Yeah, just like Teardrop and every other TLCer on this list, they get way better as the series goes, like in BFB and Teapot, but in BFDIA she's just okay. Prior to BFDIA 13, I sometimes genuinely forgot she competed in this season, just because of how short her stay was. In every episode she competed, which was only episode 1 to 3, she did nothing outside of digging for the stew challenge. So it's no surprise she was eliminated, and that was that until BFDIA 13 and 14. Just like Match, she was great in those episodes, and I really liked her dynamic with the other TLCers and her ordering islands just because she was that hungry. And in 14, the good streak continued. I liked her island and I really found her interactions with the other contestants doing that challenge great. That's really about it for her though. If you're looking for peak Dora, I would say go to BFB and Teapot 11. Still not a bad character though. Our second character in the TLC trilogy is Puffball, and I have to say, for her first season, she's honestly not that bad. I think everyone can agree Puffball was super likable from the start, with her auto-tune voice and just being happy in general. I liked her in the BFDIA 5 series as well, as I really liked her interactions with Fries, and she was just a great team player for Team No Name. But it's kind of ironic I mentioned that, because she did betray them in 5e, but I honestly thought that was a pretty good twist to the whole episode, and I really liked the foreshadowing to that moment from 5a, even though I knew there was no chance she was surviving the cake at stake following. Speaking of, while I was pretty sad to see her go, it was super cool and satisfying to see her be finally eliminated after 10 long years in BFDIA 6. In episode 13, she doesn't have the biggest role of the TLCers unlike Match and Donut and Snowball, but it was cool seeing her again after all this time. But in BFDIA 14 is where she really shines. Puffball was definitely a highlight from that episode, and I loved her island where you had to sing a lullaby, and it was just super funny watching her judge all the contestants, especially Pin, Coiny, and Needle. And I was loving the fact that she basically took over as a host towards the end of the episode. I'm really glad that Puffball got some well-deserved time to shine after being eliminated. She's far from my favorite in the season, but is still definitely a really good character. And our final TLC member on this list is Donut. So I'm just gonna be honest here, in BFDIA 1 and 2, he's pretty lame. We don't get to see much of his actual personality, and he's just shown to argue with the other contestants in Coiny, so it's pretty clear why he was the first boot of that season. However, as I said with every other TLCer on this list, Donut definitely redeemed himself in episode 13 and 14. In 13, we finally got to see Donut's actual personality and who he really was at the beginning of the series, being more considerate and logical compared to the others. I know this doesn't matter too much, but I really like the little details and connections the series makes to Donut in future seasons, such as him hosting in BFB and the Buried Forest in BFDIA 13. And just like every other TLC member on this list too, Donut was great in BFDIA 14. He was a great host, and I would love to see him host more. Oh wait, that already happened, didn't it? But yeah, there isn't too much to note about Donut, but despite his rough start, I think he's pretty good. You know, you really have to feel for Spongy sometimes, because if you really look at him in this season, he gets treated like utter garbage. but I'm sure he'd be happy to hear that he's sitting comfortably in mid B tier. He actually didn't do too much up until episode 5, where he was forced to die because everyone else on his team would if he didn't act as a platform. And later in the trilogy, he asked for an apology by his team, but is shot down by all of Bunch. I really don't know why they did that to him, as it honestly just feels out of character for all the people on Bunch such as Needle, Nickel, Coiny, and Pin. And post-hiatus BFDIA, specifically episode 8, it's shown that a small arc with Spongy and Coiny is being set up, as Spongy still hasn't made up with Coiny for Coiny treating him harshly, and in BFDIA 11 when he gets eliminated though, nothing happens between the two, which is honestly pretty sad and disappointing to me because I really want a Spongy to get the justice he deserves after being treated so badly. As of now, he's kinda just wandering around and doing his own thing as the center scoop thrower wasn't strong enough to fling him to the WTF. So overall, Spongy has been through a lot this season, and I really do feel bad for him because he got voted out for virtually no reason and never made up with Coiny. He's probably the second most underrated character in that season for me, and he would be higher for me, but the whole thing between him and Coiny was just sat on the show and it never went anywhere. Even so though, I still think he's a good one amongst the cast. Oh, Yellowface. What an interesting one. Possibly the most controversial character of this entire season in 14th place is Yellowface. I think we all know why he's controversial, so let me just address of what I think of it. The whole thing with being against purple things to me is honestly not that bad. Like, I think it creates some funny moments within the show, and even though I knew he was doomed to get eliminated, it was fun while it lasted. But anyway, yeah, I like Yellowface. I've always enjoyed his ads within the series, and I think he's a pretty fun character. Admittedly, I don't think that whole thing being against purple stuff was the best route to go with Yellowface, as he was a pretty minor character prior to BFDIA 6, but as I said, I don't mind that change, and it can be pretty funny how it's used sometimes. I think the best episode though was BFDIA 9, because despite getting eliminated in that same episode, I really like the connections to BFB with a box that had purple face in it, and I really like the antagonistic role that Yellowface took on in that Cake at Stake. And I also find it funny that he just died shortly after and no one bothered to bring him back until recently. So yeah, I like Yellowface, and even though I think a better route could have been taken with him in post-hiatus, the one they went with is honestly not that bad in my opinion.
Why is this locked? Let me out! It's so painful!
You might be surprised to hear that every character we've covered so far has been eliminated, and the number 13 spot is the first character we've gotten to that's still competing in the show as of this video. So with that being said, the weakest character that's still competing in BFDIA is Bombie. Yeah, this might not be too much of a surprise to you all, but yeah, I think Bombie's the weakest of the characters that are still in right now. That's not to say that there isn't anything to like about him, because despite being on the bottom, I still really enjoy Bombie. I will admit, he wasn't the best character until after the hiatus. I mean, think about it, all he really did was just help with challenges or get his fuse ignited and explode, but in episode 6 and onward really picks up Bombie. Firstly, he gets his first genuine speaking role with full-on sentences and is a pretty big highlight to Bunch. Things like fighting with Ruby in said episode, being a great player with Needle in BFDIA 9's challenge, and much more little moments with him that just make him a good asset to Bunch. In BFDIA 10, things shift a bit for Bombie though. Fries decides to kidnap him to get Bombie to dig with him, which starts one of my favorite rivalries in the series, which is the two of them. And this rivalry got elevated more in BFDIA 12, with him and Coiny chasing Fries to try and poison him, with Fries always managing to outsmart them. But I think the most recent episode, BFDIA 14, is the best Bombie episode yet. I love the fact that Bombie had to be paired up with his archenemy, and it was just hilarious watching him go on sugar highs due to the sweet Fries, before eventually having a sugar crash. Not only that, but the dynamic Bombie and Fries had that whole episode was just great, and when they won the challenge, Fries hinted at the fact that maybe they could work together, and if the series continues to do that, that would honestly be amazing. I just really like the frenemies relationship they have in the series right now. However, it's a shame that Bombie might be eliminated in the next few episodes, seeing that he narrowly escaped being eliminated as there's only about a 300 dislike difference between him and Golf Ball, but I hope he can last a few more episodes as I really enjoy the dynamic between him and Fries. So while Bombie is the weakest of the ones still competing, I still really enjoy him. And at our number 12 spot is Needle. Alright, so I'm gonna be honest here, I really didn't care too much for Needle up until a few episodes ago because she really wasn't the most interesting character personality wise, and the only thing that she really had going for her in my opinion was just being super helpful in challenges and the needy joke. Don't get me wrong, I still like moments such as Puffball threatening in BFDIA 5, fighting with Freesmart in episode 6, and her involvement with just Will Bunch in general, but it just felt like she was missing something. This is where BFDIA 12 comes into play though. I think her joining FreeSmart was a great choice by the J&J crew, and it gives her a ton more life in my opinion. Her wanting to be recognized as a FreeSmart member by Pencil is just an interesting choice for Needle, and it's just cool watching her try to prove herself in episodes 12 to 14. Speaking of, episode 14 is Needle's best in my opinion, just like Bombie. It was super cool watching her do all the challenges with just such ease by herself since Pencil was dead a majority of the episode, and the song that she sang at the end for Puffball was just beautiful. Along with that, she goes great with FreeSmart in general. Needle has a pretty good friendship with Ruby that's a welcome addition in my books, and she's really starting to fit in the alliance in my eyes. So as a whole, Needle is pretty good, and while was lacking a bit compared to the other characters in my eyes for a while, she makes up for it for FreeSmart involvement and just being a great character challenge-wise. The final character that's on B tier and will be ending off said tier is Fiery. Despite being kicked off pretty early, I think BFDIA is one of Fiery's best seasons of the series. I just really love how silly and stupid he is all the time. Like, come on, you can't help but love this silly goober. But what has he actually done? Fiery admittedly was more of a minor character during his time on the show, but he's had plenty of fun moments such as his shenanigans on the Eiffel Tower with Book in episode 4, the whole Rocky switching team scenes in episode 6, and the fountain scene in episode 13. But Fiery's huge highlight of the series is just being good friends with Gelatin. These two are one of my favorite duos in not just BFDIA, but in the whole darn series. I absolutely adore these two going around and just doing stupid things such as tying their legs together, running around Yo-Yo City, and of course, the two of them in BFDIA 7. I absolutely love Fiery and Gelatin in Intruder Alert and just how they troll FreeSmart the whole episode. I found it incredibly funny and thought that plot was very well done. Sadly though, Fiery got the most dislikes in episode 8 and was sadly kicked off the show. But that's not the end of Fiery though. BFDIA 13 was a great episode for him, and as I said, it was just super fun watching him mess about in Yo-Yo City. But it wasn't all goofing and being silly for Fiery that episode, as after reminiscing about Leafy, he makes the ultimate decision to bring her back. This was incredibly hype at the time, and that was just really good development for Fiery, and I cannot wait to see where him and Leafy go leading up to IDFB and BFB. I am always down for some Fiery action in the show, and this season is no different. So despite him missing out on A tier, I really like Fiery a lot. And at the bottom of A tier and just cracking our top 10 is none other than Book. And I'm gonna be straight up with you guys, Battle for Dream Island again is straight up, without a doubt, Book's best season in the entire series. So let me explain why I make such a claim. For one, I really like her personality in this season, and I love how played by the rules she is, and just her politeness in general. The second reason I really like Book is because despite Ruby and Pencil being higher, Book is, in my opinion, the best FreeSmarter member by far this season. Moments like helping to win BFDIA 8, sacrificing herself to go first in the trash compactors, winning the fight against Coiny in BFDIA 11, and especially the ship scene in BFDIA 14 really show how much she puts the team in alliance before herself. Along with that, she interacts great with other characters, specifically Ruby. I love how Ruby's the goofy one who doesn't think before doing, and Ruby's the sensible and smarter one of the two. They make for a great duo, and I hope to see more of the two. Though it's funny I mention that because due to their mistreatment of Pin, the two of them are up for elimination. I really don't know who I want to leave more of the two, as I love both Ruby and Book a lot, but it'll be interesting to see who gets out of the two, as both of them are anything but dislike magnets. I don't have too much more to say about Book, as this is one of the more shorter sections in the video, but I really enjoy her due to the personality she has, her loyalness to FreeSmart, and just her interactions with other characters, which is why I think BFDIA is peak Book and why she's in my top 10. So I'm just gonna jump straight into this one. I freaking love Gelatin so much, so it is no surprise he's an A tier. I don't have too much to go over, as a ton of the reasons why I love Gelatin are the same reasons why I love Fiery, as in BFDIA, they have a lot in common. Still though, I love Gelatin's laid back and also goofy ways. He's by far one of the funniest characters in this season in my opinion, and just like Book, I think BFDIA is his best season. Things like BFDIA 7's challenge with Fiery, tying legs together with Fiery, and his steakhouse which turned into a Shade's house is what really makes Gelatin. Although I think he has the edge over Fiery because 1, he's a newbie, so he got a bit more time to shine, and 2, he actually had a tiny bit of character development. If you remember in Catch These Hands, Gelatin gets yelled at by Tennis Ball because he indirectly called him a failed inventor. When he got eliminated in the next episode though, he made up with TB and got his happy ending. While this wasn't the most interesting small plotline in the series, I do actually like that Gelatin had a bit of growth as a person. His next huge episode was BFDIA 13, where him along with the rest of the WTFers go and mess about in Yo-Yo City. And I don't know, I just really loved watching Gelatin having fun with all his friends even though he died a ton of times. So combine the fact that he's funny, has a great duo with Fiery, and even a bit of growth, this is what makes BFDIA Gelatin. I wish he could have stayed a bit longer, but I'm still happy with what we have with him. The next character on this list is none other than the one and the only Pence. And I'm just going to be upfront here, if you want to see prime Pence on the BFDI series, look no further than BFDIA. Where do I begin? Pencil is nothing short of amazing, but why is that the case? Well, there are a few reasons, but the main one is Free Smart. I would say that the moment Pencil formed Free Smart in BFDIA 5A was the moment that she became amazing. Despite being oddly manipulative and more sociopathic this season, Pencil is a great leader and is very fun to watch on Free Smart. Along with that, Pencil has actually had quite a few rivalries this season, mainly with Golf Ball and Team No Name. You may not have noticed it too much, but I like the little jabs she throws at Golf Ball and the rest of Team No Name, such as calling her a bozo in episode 10 and killing Rocky in 5. Along with that, she just has amazing episodes constantly too. BFDIA 6, 7, 14, and especially 10 in the 5 trilogy is where we see Pencil at her best, leading Free Smart to victory. Speaking of, it'll be interesting to see how she'll accept Needle into her alliance, as Pencil seemingly brushed off Needle's attempt to try and prove herself. Anyway, I don't have too much else to say here besides the fact that Pencil's up here simply because she's a great leader, and I love her interactions with characters in Free Smart. I hope she makes it far in the season. And the best food-based contestant in BFDIA, in my opinion, is none other than Fries. I've always loved Fries from the start of the season, especially with his small friendship with Puffball, but post-hiatus BFDIA is what really brings Fries up here in my opinion. Firstly, I just love how grumpy he is all the time towards his team no-namers, such as Gelatin and especially Golf Ball, because he's aware he's on a team with senseless people, which brings me to my next point that we all want to hear my thoughts on. In BFDIA 10, Fries decides to go rogue and not switch to the Beautiful Face team. This, in my opinion, was genius for Fries' character. Him being solo and flawlessly winning challenges really just shows how entertaining and especially smart he can be. Fries himself are part of the reason why I love episodes 10 and 12 purely because of the solo team. I think BFDIA 14 is where he's at his best though. As I said with Bombie, Fries had to team up with his arch rival to try and win the challenge, and as I said a few spots ago, I found this hilarious and it creates such a good dynamic between Fries and Bombie, with Fries motivating Bombie with the sugar cover fries and whatnot. And as I said in Bombie's part, I really hope to see more of the two of them. Fries is a lot of people's favorite character in BFDIA, and I totally see why. He is definitely a highlight of the season, and this is why he makes the number 7 spot. Despite being literally unable to speak for 3 episodes, losing their limbs and their size, Pin is my 6th favorite character in BFDIA. Although she barely misses out on the top 5, Pin would definitely be happy to know she got here. In my opinion, BFDIA is Pin's best season for a multitude of reasons. Firstly, I love her friendship with Coiny. It's so wholesome and the two of them are by far my favorite duo of the season. And secondly, of course, her journey to get all the things she lost back. As you all know, Pin lost her face, size, and limbs across BFDIA 5 to 12, and it was just sad watching her be everyone's butt of their jokes and be constantly abused by Free Smart. It was really cool though watching Coiny try to get her back to normal in BFDIA 13, even though it didn't work, and it was honestly pretty sad when the episode revealed that her plan didn't work. But finally, in the latest episode, Pin won the prize and in turn won all her features back except her limbs. And afterward, Pin had one goal that whole episode, which was to get revenge on Free Smart. It was nothing short of amazing watching Coiny and Pin finally get to work together and mess with Free Smart the whole challenge. It's not over yet though, because the ultimate payoff to Pin's revenge was all culminated in the climax of BFDIA 14. It was really surprising as we had never seen Pin or really any character get this angry at someone, and it was just sick as hell watching her finally get her justice against Free Smart and punishing them at last. That episode, in my opinion, is Pin's best episode of not just this season, but of all of the BFDI series. Pin is by far one of the most interesting characters when it comes to development, as she's gotten so much and I'm all here for it. I see Pin getting very far in the season, and I am so excited to see how herself and Coiny will go through the competition moving forward. Cracking our top 5 of the list as the final Free Smarter I'm covering, Ruby. I honestly think Ruby is one of the most universally liked characters in the series, and I'm no different. Despite barely missing out on S tier, Ruby has a ton going for her. She adds so much personality and life to the show that I don't even know what it would be like without her. The main appeal to Ruby is just how energetic she is whenever she's on screen. Like seriously, look at any scene with her and she's basically bouncing off the walls or is talking about nonsense. I would also argue that she's the funniest character in the season by far. It's just the pure random things she does, such as killing our team members of hopes of winning a challenge, or causing the trash compactor to start rolling just because she was trying to demonstrate what she looks like when eating sugar. And that's not to say that she doesn't have good interactions with characters too. I love seeing Ruby talk with her alliance and her friendship with Book, Pencil, and somewhat Ice Cube. I would also say that some of her best episodes of the season are 5, 7, 9, 12, and 14. And who could forget about her sisters? Since episode 12, every time Ruby's on screen, she changes to one of her many sisters. Whether that's against Ruby's will, we won't know, but I still find that really cool that they're bringing in already existing characters into the show. I wonder what the reactions will be if Ruby gets eliminated, which, speaking of, there is a chance that could happen. I really hope Ruby doesn't leave, but I could also say the same for Book. They're both just really good characters that I wish both of them could stay. Anyway, I'll be honest, Ruby is great, but she's not without her own faults. For one, I wish they still had some of her old personality that was shown in pre-hiatus BFDIA, as she seemed to be a bit more shy and trying to prove herself to be a good member. But in BFDIA 6, that whole thing about her just kinda got left behind. And secondly, I'll admit, she can be a tad bit much. I love Ruby just as much as the next person, but there are some scenes with Ruby that are just a bit overwhelming purely because of how energetic she is. But even so, those are minor nitpicks I have about Ruby. There's a reason she's up so high, and they're almost all good reasons. On the chance that Ruby's out in episode 15, I will miss her. I think most of you expected Golf Ball to be up super high, and believe me, your expectations were met. Golf Ball is absolutely amazing. I just can't help but love how bossy she is, and especially how funny she can be sometimes. Like, if Ruby had not been in this season, then Golf Ball would have been the funniest in the season by far. As I said though, I really enjoy Golf Ball's bossiness towards her team, and just how much of a tyrant she is, which is why she's my favorite of the antagonists of the show as well. On top of that, she has one of my favorite duos of all time, which is her and Tennis Ball. I absolutely adore their friendship with stuff like the whole Yo-Yo-Light story this season, and especially BFDIA 12 when they were together as a duo on the team. I'm sad that I won't get to see more of the two of them together after the unfortunate elimination that took place in episode 14, but Golf Ball has had a good run while it lasted in my opinion, although there is one tiny moment with her that I'm not the biggest fan of. In BFDIA 13, when all the contestants were walking on the highway, Golf Ball takes full credit for Tennis Ball's invention just because the shoes were built in her factory. Except the thing is, she was unnecessarily rude and mean to Tennis Ball. Like, I know she's supposed to be mean and whatnot, but this is beyond her levels of meanness, and this just totally fell off character for Golfy. But besides that one hiccup, that's really all I have to say about Golf Ball. I know I didn't go too much into depth about her, but I think you guys all know why Golf Ball is mostly liked by the community and just how integral she is to BFDIA and the series as a whole. So if you ask me who the best team no-namer is and the best of the balls in the season, then I would, without a doubt, no questions asked, answer my boy Tennis Ball. I think it's no surprise to anyone whatsoever that TB is up this high, and some of you might think he's actually too low, as he's not in the number 2 or number 1 spot. But yes, just like every other fan of the BFDI series, I am a TB advocate. I like how smart he is, and especially when he puts that smartness to actually invent things. This is why I love scenes such as him inventing the laser pointer to tell Golf Ball what prompt was on for the trash compactors, and him doing research to invent the Yo-Yo Light straw. On top of that, he's just really nice to others, and is just a pretty wholesome guy in general, which is quite surprising considering he's Golf Ball's best friend. If you ask me what episodes Tennis Ball is at his best, then I would say 9 because of him and Gelatin and the laser pointer, episode 12 because his duel with Golf Ball and that whole episode in general, which I expressed my love for when talking about her, and episode 14 because even though him and Nico were an unlikely pairing, it was really cool watching a new duo form. Those are just my favorite episodes in terms of focus on Tennis Ball, but honestly, every episode he's in this season is just non-stop greatness. I would go as far as to say that he doesn't have a single bad scene in this entire season so far, which can't be said about number 2 and number 1. This is also why Tennis Ball is definitely a candidate to win the season in my eyes. I still think someone else that we haven't gotten to deserves to win it more, but I would be totally fine with it if TB won. Between his friendship with Golfy and having good episodes non-stop and a lovable character, this is why I love Tennis Ball and why he makes it into my top 3. This entry is going to surprise many of you, as this character most likely went under your radar. I believe that not only is this character the most underrated of BFDIA, but I also think that they're one of the best characters of the season alongside Tennis Ball number 1. It is none other than the one, the only, Nickel. Yeah, that's right, having Nickel at a number 2 spot in a contestant ranking video is the hot take of this video to many of you guys, but I think he's super underappreciated and an incredible character. I'll admit, he doesn't have the most major presence in the series, but I think he's really lovable. I really enjoy his pessimistic side, but also his goofy and happy-go-lucky side, as the wiki says. While not the biggest Wool Bunch member in terms of involvement, I like the little bits he contributes, and his small friendship with Nito is always a welcome addition. He can be pretty helpful in challenges as well. Nickel was mostly the reason that Wool Bunch won in BFDIA 7, and did a really good job marketing in BFDIA 10 alongside Pencil and Needle. The only gripe I have with Nickel is the Spongy scenes in BFDIA 5. As I said, it just felt really out of character for Nickel and the others to bully Spongy like that, and I don't think it will ever be explained why. But that doesn't bring him down at all. Nickel is one of those characters you always just like for not really any particular reason to me. I just really enjoy his character, demeanor, and what the series is doing for him right now. But now, it's time for number 1. If you've been paying attention to the list, then you know who's here, and it's probably no surprise they're here. While not my favorite in the whole series, this character has really proven how perfect BFDIA's characters can really be. So with that being said, the best character in Battle for Dream Island again to me is... Coiny! Yeah, like I said, it should be no surprise Coiny is here at number 1, but I believe he is absolute peak. Where do I even begin with him? There's so much to know, I don't even know where to start. Well, for one, I absolutely love his silliness and how he's turned into more of a leader and strategist this season. He and Pin always lead Wool Bunch to victory, and speaking of Pin, her and Coiny are the best duo in friendship of the season, and it's not even close at all. They have such an amazing dynamic, and I love watching them compete together. And if we're on the topic of those two, then we have to talk about BFDIA 11 to 14. Coiny was tasked with bringing back Pin and attempted to do so in BFDIA 13, and even though it failed, I still found it really sweet that he did all of that just to bring his best friend back. And even though I didn't mention this with Pin, I find it super cool that the two of them can read their thoughts with each other as shown in this season in this kaleidoscope type dimension. But anyway, Coiny himself is a great competitor and leader. It's clear that the show wants him to get far, and I'm actually rooting for Coiny to win at the moment because of all the things he's done for the series. From trying to bring his best friend back, to leading Wool Bunch in challenges, and to just being a really great guy in his ways in general. These are the reasons why I love Coiny so much in this season, and I hope he makes it to the finals because he definitely deserves it, and furthermore deserves to win in my opinion. To avoid this section getting too long, I won't go over every moment that I love with Coiny, but I'll let you know that if you want to see just how good he can be in this season, then look no further than episode 5, 8, 11, 12, 13, and 14, as wow, he is just a 10 out of 10 in those episodes. Anyways, it's for these reasons why Coiny is my favorite character in Battle for Dream Island again, and he will most likely continue to be. And there you have it. That was every character in Battle for Dream Island Season 2 ranked. I'm really glad I got to get some of my BFDI series opinions out there, as I've been wanting to make a video on the series for quite a while. And let me know what your thoughts on it were, and also leave a comment if you want more BFDI content here on the Marley channel. I put a ton of effort into making this video, so I hope you guys enjoyed the ranking just as much as my first one. So with that being said, as always, I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.